All right, I'm here with Bas Rutten, arguably my favorite MMA athlete of all time. I was introduced to you through Grand Theft Auto back in the day.
Oh, such a good work, man. If you didn't see it, go to the safe house, turn on the TV. I have a show in there, in the men's room. It's what the show is called. It's freaking hilarious. The 2 shows are 10 minutes. I was crying when I saw it from laughing. It's about the best.
How did you come up with the content for that?
They just came to me and they said, hey, I want to make, can you make it sound as psychopathic as possible? I go, oh yeah, I can do that. And then they just give me a script and I start breaking up the script. Like this, I would stop the mid-sentence, I would stop it and restart it. The second part of the sentence, and once you start doing that, it sounds like you're complete psychopathic. And it worked, people loved it, so.
I love that, man. Actually, how did you even get into the Grand Theft Auto thing? Why did they come to you specifically?
It's a freaking bar fighting thing that I had on, you know, the clip they bought, ding, ding, dong, dong, dong. Yeah. It's actually a 1 hour and 45-minute, very serious self-defense DVD. I had no clue I was making sound effects. And then somebody from the 1 hour and 45 minutes, they took all the sound effects and they put it in a 6-minute clip. And I got 95% of my jobs. I mean, I worked as a fitness guru for Cartoon Network, you name it. Yeah. Everything is from that freaking tips, yeah. And so Grand Theft Auto was the same.
I know a lot of people know you from that. That's how I was introduced to you. And then I ended up seeing that self-defense video and just all the chaos that is naturally your personality.
Yeah.
What all went into that from your childhood and from your upbringing that made you who you are?
Well, I was a kid with a horrible skin disease. I was the leper in school. That's what they called me. So I had a very bad asthma as well, severe. Every 5 weeks a week in bed. Not able to eat because I couldn't breathe. So needless to say, I was bullied a lot. And then I saw a Bruce Lee movie, Enter the Dragon, when I was 12. Took me 2 years to convince my parents to allow me martial arts. Started training, and I was training with the adults. Some adult took me under his wing, so I was training with the adult group. And then in months, I started beating the adults. And then I overheard them talk about me in the dressing room. Man, that kid Bas, did you see that? He's not freaking guy, check out with a high kick or something. People, oh my God, he's got a lot of talent. So once you hear people say that, you know, you start believing the adults. And then I got into a fight with the biggest bully in my school, and I knocked him out with 1 shot. And that was it. I go like, whoa, this is easy. And then I started making a list of all the bullies that I had, so I could scratch off every single one of them, which I did.
You had a kill list.
Knocked them all up, yeah. I had some guys saying, please, Bas, I don't even remember. I said, I do, boom. Oh, dude, it was crazy, and that was it. Then I made my career, I guess.
Jesus Christ. Speaking of your career, what would you consider the high point of your career?
Of my career, winning my 3rd title in Pancras, because that was against the guy who gave me my very first loss, and I really wanted to knock him out, which I did in that fight. So yeah, the 3rd world title fight, that was a big one for me because it was a rematch.
So, yeah, you got some payback. So that was the high point. Now, what would you say was like the low point or the most difficult time that you had to get through?
You see, I've never been that guy. I lose a fight and that tells me that I have to work harder. Yeah, right. You know, you're not good enough. You gotta have to train harder, I guess. And then
you think you have that mentality because of your childhood and all that shit?
100%. You know, and I just did. Like after my last loss, I did know the ground game. I lost my last fight by submission, and that pissed me off. And then I started working submissions, training submissions, and then I fell in love with it. And then I won my next 8 fights by submission. And suddenly I never lost a fight anymore after that. I wrapped up my career with 22-fight win streak. So that was all because I made a conscious decision to start grappling. And once that happened, yeah, it changed everything.
Gotcha. So fitness and fighting and all that stuff has played a massive role in your life. What would you say to somebody who's, you know, kind of a slob, out of shape, lethargic, sitting on the couch like a couch potato? What would you say to them to get them off their ass to make something of themselves?
Well, they're gonna have to want that themselves, right? If they're okay with what they are, then good, right? Do whatever you want to do, but don't complain if a disease like COVID comes around and suddenly all these people are out of shape and they don't take care of themselves. They get in trouble. I go, well, you kind of did that to yourself, right? There's no reason to let yourself go like that. Listen, if you're 50 pounds overweight, imagine lose that 50 pounds. Just walking around, how much easier it will be on your knees, on your whole body. Your life will change. Working out. If I don't work out, I need to memorize a lot. I do a lot of memorization for movies, for acting, for shows. If I don't work out, it takes me double the amount of time.
Because you lose the mental clarity?
It is, you know, and working out and throwing weights around will keep your testosterone levels up. And once you do it, you just have to make the conscious decision and then stick with it. You know, if you have a bad day, too bad. You work out a little less, but you work out.
But you still do it.
Don't break the habit.
You know, speaking of like low T and stuff like that, because we're talking about test levels and whatnot, what do you think about the pussification of men in the modern world?
Yeah, I will say pusillanimous. I say you're a pussy, and that's abbreviation I made from pusillanimous, which means lack of courage or determination. And cowardly even, it means that as well. It's like we don't want to, it's because we're behind our phones. All these tough guys are on the phones and bullying, and you know, because behind a secret...
you mean like keyboard warrior type people?
Like that, you know, imagine you're that person. Imagine the guy, you're brushing your teeth, you look at that person, and you're spitting on everybody with a fake account, you're brushing your teeth, you see yourself in this mirror. Do you like that person? Because I see a loser. I mean, for me, in order to even think about it, you got to be the dumbest loser. If you have no cojones at all to put out your real name and to attack, I got into this fight with that 23-year-old. He's not looking at me. Yeah, but you know it. He doesn't, because he's a tough guy online, but he doesn't look me in the eyes because he's afraid. Toughen up. Watching a Rocky movie doesn't make you a boxer, right? And everybody thinks that. I just watch a lot of movies and I can be an actor. Oh, really? That works easy. So I watch a lot of boxing matches and I can be a boxer? Is that how it works? You see, and they go, no, that doesn't. Well, if you say it works with that, why wouldn't it work with boxing? You see, but we all want a shortcut. You know, oh, I want to lose weight. Let's take a pill because I don't have to work out. Start working out. Make a decision. Oh, I work out next month. No, what about tomorrow morning? Okay. What about that? Sign up for a freaking gym and don't hit the snooze button in life because that's what we're all doing. We do it tomorrow, hit the snooze, we do it tomorrow. No, break that habit, start working out, boom, and you're going to be just fine.
All right, you mentioned taking a pill to lose weight or whatever, yada, yada. What are your thoughts on TRT and steroids and stuff like that?
In competition or in regular life?
Both. Give us your opinion on both.
In competition, it shouldn't be legal. I think it's cheating. It's just cheating, and it's what it is. In regular life, it depends what your testosterone levels are. Like I had Suboxone, I had a pain pill addiction, and then they put me on Suboxone, which is the stuff that you get off with, right. And that crushed my testosterone level to 5. Oh, 500, boss? No, 5. So the doctors, they had to call in another doctor. They say, how can you get out of bed? Women have 70. I've never seen anybody with 5. So you can only imagine when they gave me my first testosterone shot, after 3.5 years having 0 testosterone, dude, I go, okay, now I know why these fighters are taking this shit. I was like, what the heck? It was like I was high for like 3-4 weeks straight. But then I realized also, if you want to have that feeling again, you're going to have to take more. And as soon as I realized that, because I'm a very addictive personality I said, no, I'm going to stop that. So now I've been back and forth. I was 2.5 years off of it, and it started doing my traffic started to go up. And I recently, in May, I actually started using TRT again. So that's what I started. But like I said, I take minimum amounts.
That stuff, it makes you fucking want to fight, and it makes you want to fuck.
I start getting mentally weaker, and I go, what's going on? I'm more emotional, more thing, and I went to Waste Too Well, you know, the guys that here in Austin. Yeah. The organization, and they did a blood test on me, and they checked. He says, your testosterone level are a little down again. I mean, I said, but is it affecting me mentally? He says, yes, that will affect you mentally. I go, crap, I didn't want to do it, because if you look at the pictures that I have for the last 2.5 years, I look the same. I never gained weight. I'm the same weight as when I started fighting in '93. So I've been always the same. You know, that's the good thing about not using steroids when you're fighting. You know, you're just the same weight. But then when I start taking it, I called him last week, I sent him a message. I go, dude, I did a life insurance policy. I'm 58. I had a Suboxone addiction, and all these addictions that I had, fighting background, it's very hard for me to get a freaking life insurance with the background I had. They looked at my blood test, and they were like, we've never seen a blood test like this. Everything was perfect. Really? My blood pressure, everything. And that's since I started going to Waste Too Well. So I called him, I said, dude, you won't believe this. I just got okayed for a life insurance policy at 58 with my background because of you freaking guys, because you cleaned me up and you made me perfect again. So I'm a big believer in it. Check them out, Ways to Well, if you live in Austin. It's a great company, and they go be very thorough with what they're doing.
Before we hit the punching bag, what's the craziest story in your entire life, whether you've told it before or not?
I've been in some crazy fights. I would say a car accident I had, where I spun out of control. We were not wearing seat belts. It was an open car, the roof flew off. I started going in a spin. I shot over a crash barrier. We didn't even touch it. We were rolling down, no seat belts, open roof. Somehow we stayed in the car. I saw my friend bouncing up and down in slow motion. I grabbed him while we were going down, put him in my guard, and I was only focusing on the Terminator. Really weird. I didn't want to see. I didn't want to see that. I told myself, don't see that, don't see that, don't see that. There were trees everywhere. We missed every tree going down. We ended upside down in the water. The water starts coming in. My friend is knocked out. I had to kick out the windows. Water comes in. I have to drag him out of the freaking car. And I had a scratch. My steering wheel in the car was like this in the car. Because when I shot it a spin, I bent the whole steering wheel. Dude, if you see the car, the wheels, it was like this. It was, when we went the next day, because I went to the hospital, my buddy had his whole skull open. That was a crazy story, because just before they put him in, so his whole skull is open, right? His cut, and you see his skull. And the surgeon comes in to take him in. And I go, wait, before you do that, I say, lean over. And he leans over, and I put my finger under his skin, and I touch his skull. And the surgeon goes, what the hell are you doing? And I go, whenever do I get another chance to touch somebody's skull, right? So that was a pretty naughty story. The next day we went back, at the car where it was located, the guy goes like, oh my God, how are the people in this car? I go, I was driving it. And he goes, but you have nothing. I say, I got a scratch. It was the most insane thing. I don't know how we survived. It was God at work, I guarantee you that. Was pulling all the strings, put that tree out of the way, that tree out of the way. Don't let him get knocked out. And what also was, my buddy was knocked out. He was a fighter as well. And when I pulled him out, I put him on his side, and I checked, and he was breathing, so it was okay. And the people came running down from the freeway. And I'm like, oh my God, I go, dude. And then he started waking up, and he stands up, and he's all messed up. And I say, dude, are you okay? He goes, yeah. And he thought he was in a fight. It was the best.
Shit.
And we're laughing. I go, dude, this is crazy. We went to a gas station, bought 12 bottles of beer, drove to the hospital while somebody else was driving, and we were freaking getting tanked because we survived this crazy fight.
That is insane. That might be the craziest story I've ever heard.
It was insane. I have no clue how I survived that thing.
There's one more person up, so let's throw one more question in here. What was the first fight that you ever got in?
That was my street fight against the bully.
Really? Okay.
And that till this day, that's why I said for my career to you, I said till this day, that is the most important fight for me ever had. Because the first time I stood up for myself. It was the first time I was riding on my bike. He came with 6 of his friends on bicycles, 12 years old, 14 years old. Hey, leper, watch out, your ears don't fall off. They shouted something again, and I shouted something back. And I heard them laugh, and I looked back, and sure enough, they turned around, they started chasing me. And I made the conscious decision. I went on the sidewalk, put my bike on the stand, I go, I'm gonna face it now. I get emotional now, literally talking about it.
I'm getting the chills.
And they surrounded me with their bikes, and then he came, hey, you wanna hit me, leper? And I go, bop, out, one punch. Nose was flat on his face. Everybody was freaking out. Nobody had the balls to step in. Came home, police was already there because the nose was broke. He had to go to the hospital, so my mom and dad pulled me off. But that to me is still, till this day, is my biggest victory.
Yeah. That's emotional. Man, it just goes to show though that bullies are kind of like cockroaches. You know, they scatter.
They have a 4-year lifespan, I always say, you know. Right. And unfortunately nowadays they have a longer lifespan, but that's just because they're assholes. Yeah. You know, if I mean, think about how pathetic you have to be in order to do that. We were just talking about it. You know, if you have created a fake account in order to, it's a sad thing. You know, we should feel sorry for them actually if you think about it, because it's pretty pathetic what you're doing. Yeah. You know, so hopefully they start seeing it. and save some kids, because kids are killing themselves because they get bullied online, and it's the most insane thing there is.
Do you think there's any positives to be taken from bullying? I mean, like, being bullied is pretty much what started you on the path that you're on. You know what I mean?
I know.
So there's a silver lining there, right?
No, but the silver lining is this. Like, I was always an athlete. Like in school, I was always the outcast. But if PE came along, they picked me the first because I was the best athlete. And not only that, if we played handball and you're a bully, you're in the goalie, I'm not even trying to score the goal. I'm going to throw the ball against your face as hard as I can. You know, so, and they knew. So they were, and some kids are just not athletically gifted. And if they're not, then bullying is really bad for them.
Right.
That's when you start seeing kids getting a gun to school
and shooting up schools.
Shooting these guys. And I condone that, but I can understand it. It was so bad with me one time. I was on the schoolyard, and we lived like 200 yards away from my home, and these kids were bullying me on the schoolyard. I was young. I was 12 or 11 years old. And I got so angry, I grabbed the branch. There was trees. I grabbed the branch, and I wanted to be like Tarzan. I guess I saw it in the movie. Like, grab a tree, swing against his chest, and kick him away. So I grabbed the tree, and it breaks. And I fall on the ground, and all the kids are pointing at me, laughing. I run home to the kitchen knife, and I start sprinting back. And my mom saw me to the front window with a knife running, and she started to chase me. And the school was 200 yards. And she got up at me, and she had the gun. She pulled it out of my hand. Until this day, I don't know what I would have done. But in my mind, I was going to stab him.
But the thought was there.
I was going to kill him. And that's why I always say I understand these kids. Of course, it's the worst thing. You cannot do it. I understand that. But if they push you for years in a row, what happened with me since I was freaking 6 years old, over every single day, calling you a leper, you know, it starts to boil. And then once it breaks, the drop that makes the bucket flow, that's what they say in Holland.
Right.
Then everything goes. And that was that moment. And thankfully my mom saw it, but that was scary.
She caught it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because you're isolated and alone at that point, especially when you're a kid, you don't understand the world, a lot of confusion. And confusion, deep confusion is what causes that super anger, that super angry feeling. But cool, thanks for the interview, man. That was fucking awesome. You wanna hit this thing real quick?
Yeah, I can do it, but you know, I show you guys I had 4 neck surgeries, so I lost my whole arm here, right? So this arm is about 70% weaker than this arm, but I'll give it a shot.
So if I beat you in the punching bag machine, it's not legit because you don't have full use of your arm.
It's not legit. Yeah.
Well, maybe I can say I beat you at 70% then.
It's still work a little bit. I only have to hit harder than him. So
He's going to show you how to do it. Way to go, dude.
What do you think you're going to get?
Well, I'm going to beat 700 what he did. So it's not big of a Robin.
Alright, I hope I can beat this.
All right, let's see. 824 is the mark. Let's see what you got. No pressure. Oh!